Well, very much looking forward to the Aberant Stakes next. 6 furlongs, Group 3 for 3-year-olds and upwards. 4 Tasleet doesn't go, 6 others do. Brando's the favourite. He's shade of odds on 10-11. Aeolus is 13-2. Cassia 13-2. Windfast 15-2. 8-1 Ornate and Mayfair Lady 14-1. 6 run in the Aberant.
The runners in the paddock for the Aberant. We're going to start with the short price favourite Brando, who 12 months ago was winning a handicap here for a mark of 88, and what a season he had, won the Air Gold Cup and concluding finishing third in the Kipco Champions Sprint at Ascot. On his toes, but it looks like he's done plenty of work. He's got a BHA rating of 116. The only slight worry is most of his best form is with a little bit more juice in the ground, but that aside, he's going to be very, very hard to beat. We swing left-handed and go back to number 1, that is Aeolus for Ed Walker and Jamie Spencer, a horse who was 4th in this race last year, but off level weights. He's got a BHA rating of 170. He's not the biggest. Good walk to him. Looks like he's done plenty, and we know he goes well fresh. That's Aeolus.
Had a look at a couple in the paddock then with Niall, and here they are making their way down. Just to bring you up to date with a couple of recent non-runners we've got. Both Charlie Appleby horses. Hold Sway doesn't go in race 6, and in our last race, Mystic Moon doesn't go either, and they are both due to the ground. So a couple for Charlie Appleby not running in our penultimate race and our last race, Hold Sway and Mystic Moon. We are looking at Aeolus going down. One thing that can be said for this horse, for all he's up against it on ratings in this contest with the likes of Brando, he seems at this stage a relatively relaxed horse and taking it all in. Although actually, did you point out to me that he just got a bit on his toes at one point in the paddock?
He's a little bit. He's a little bit edgy, and there are a few of these were quite windy and they're sprinters, but he certainly looked pretty fit when we haven't seen him for 159 days. But I don't think it'll be lack of fitness that beats him. And he ran well with a listed company in his penultimate start at Doncaster. On that sort of form, he'd have a chance. But like the others in the field, they are relying, I think, on Brando underperforming.
Now this is Cassia, one of 2 fillies in here, other being Mayfair Lady. And she's just hearing about by the 3-pole and just planting and not happily going down under Graham Lee. Now she's got plenty of racecourse experience and isn't always one to play up. It's her first start for 194 days. She won our last 2 at the back end, and he's just trying to get her going over towards that rail to get her going down. She looks as though she's game to go down now, although she's thinking about it.
She is, isn't she? She should know better. I thought she looked really well beforehand as well in terms of her physical appearance, and she had a great 2016. She won, was it 3 handicaps and a listed race? Yeah. Despite all that, she's the joint lowest rated here, which tells you again that she's, in theory, has got to take another step forward.
Yeah, she's won 4 from her last 5, including that listed contest, as Steve said at the back end. That was over course and distance, but she's facing the wrong way now, and Graham Lee's having a look around as well. He'll try and turn around and get her going the right way and get her going down towards the start. But she's being just a bit of a madam about it at this stage.
She's probably wanting a horse to go down and lead her.
Yes.
Graham Lee's riding it. We've got Graham's agent, Niall, with us. He might have to go down and run in front of her to get the horse going down.
I think he's shaking his head. He's not. But what we can do is get Niall to go and chase her down with something, perhaps. No, he's planting as well, as is Cassia. She's really not looking very willing at all here. Let's touch upon the favourite, though, while we keep an eye on Cassia, who is currently 13-2 here. Brando, we talked to Pat Cooney at Bet365 earlier, who said we may have our first odds-on shot of the meeting running here, and we do. Actually fascinating that, really, to think that we've had relatively open races. But here is Brando, open 5-4 last night. We had the non-runner Tasleet, which shortened him up to evens, and now he's 11-10 on here. And I suppose no surprise on ratings. Should we start with the positives about this horse first? I thought he looked well. He's a really well put together sprinter. You can see why he's improved as he got a little bit older, and he progressed really nicely throughout last year, culminating that excellent run at Ascot.
Yeah, he started off by winning here, so any worries about the track, go out the window. And in the course of the season, improved 2 stone and ended up a really, really good horse, winning the Air Gold Cup in great style at the end of the season. In between that, winning Group 3 company. By some margin, the pick on official figures and the form horse, and certainly to my eyes, and I think you thought so as well, Tom, looked pretty fit, on his toes all the way round, but certainly done plenty of work. The doubt is that it's probably as quick a ground as he'd want to run on, I think.
We can see Cassia is now making her way down, as you said, Steve. She might just want a bit of company going down, and that's exactly what she got from Windfast, and she's followed him down easy as you like, so that's good to see. But yes, Brando, the potential negatives are perhaps the best form has come away from very, very quick ground. We know he likes it here, though. He did win on this card, albeit on softer ground, over 5 furlongs last year.
Absolutely, and he does handle a sound surface. It just might be a tad soft. Everything else he's got going for him. So he goes well fresh, he goes well at the track, and by some margin, he's the pick on official figures. And actually, to add another thing, he's probably the most progressive as well. He was, definitely improving. Where some of these racings, they sort of maintained their form rather than got better.
Could you find a potential negative on the different type of race here? The fact that we've only got 6 of them here compared to perhaps the bigger field handicaps he was winging at the back end.
That's a good point. But to be fair, he did start off by winning over 5 here, so it doesn't lack pace. But nonetheless, I think he is better with a decent pace to run off. And if that's going to come from one, maybe Mayfair Lady, maybe Ornate, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, go along with that. That is Windfast, just having a little tack adjustment under Richard Kingscote. He'd be one that wouldn't surprise me were he to run well here, Windfast. It's his first start for 236 days. He missed last week at Bath with a foot abscess. He's clearly over there.
Yeah, that aside, I must say, I'd probably put up as my idea of the biggest sort of threat, really. I thought in his own way he had a pretty good year last year. He won in listed company. He's quite a consistent horse. He didn't have that much racing either, so he might be able to find a bit more. But it's slightly off-putting that he missed a race last year because of last week. Sorry, because of his foot.
And Brian Meehan Sparkplug ran very well here yesterday in the Earl of Sefton. Thought put up an excellent performance in that race. That is Windfast, currently a 13-2 shot here under Richard Kingscote for Brian Meehan. Aeolus is next. We've touched upon him, so let's move on to touch upon Ornate, who is a 10-1 shot here. Actually, he was going around just in front of Brando, and physically you could see the big size differential between the two of them.
Ornate's Brando is a size and a half above Ornate, who very much looks a sort of a speedy horse, which is what he is. He's been gelded since we last saw him, and he needs something just to turn the corner with him. He was runner-up 4 times last year when trained by William Haggers, but he couldn't get his head in front. He's got a bit to find on official figures, and I think he needs the gelding operation to help him.
Yeah, that is Aeolus we're looking at in shot. The 3-horse Ornate is a horse that has been gelded since we last saw him. He's having his first start for Robert Cowell, and he's a horse that they mentioned could potentially drop back to 5 at some stage. I just wonder if, given that the headgear's off and they're running here, first starts it's being gelded over 6 furlongs, I just wonder if they're trying to find out exactly where they are with this horse.
Probably, yeah. And whether, as you say, whether this trip will ultimately prove to be his best trip is slightly debatable. But we're not absolutely guaranteed to get an end-to-end gallop either, though.
Has won a hood and a tongue tie in the past, but here he is here, Ornate, with everything off, to be fair. So we'll see how he goes. Interested to see. And Mayfair Lady is the last one to touch upon for Jack Garrity and Richard Fahey, who's had a winner elsewhere in the country so far today with a youngster. And for all he hasn't had a winner here this week, Richard Fahey, his team is in very good fettle.
Tremendous form, and this is a filly who proved last year that she can go well fresh. She took a York handicap. Admittedly, she didn't start her campaign until June, I think it was, but she won a York handicap off a mark of 100, and you thought she was really going to go on. Now, by the end of the season, she was rated 100 again, and that, I think, tells you that she maintained her form but didn't do anything more than that. But she can go fresh, and she's one of the possible place angles in this race.
Windfast getting relatively well supported here, Steve.
I can see that. It was a lightly raced last year, and I don't think he's reached the summit of his ability, racing-wise.
He won on the July course last year, and it's obviously a different track, but he has form in Newmarket, and he's a horse who could well continue to progress, I think, this season. He's now 9-2, and he was 15-2 Windfast, and bigger before, so he's coming to 9-2 It's Windfast.
We've no longer got an odds-on favourite.
We don't, it's even money. Scuppered that
yeah,
fat, didn't it? Thanks a lot. Yeah. Thanks, punters. He's an even money shot now, this Brando. And look, he's the horse here probably holding up the quality in the race, I think. Definitely. But there are a couple that are entitled to improve. Can Brando cut his teeth subsequently back up in Group 1 class for you?
I think he could be a very good sprinter. He was very much going the right way towards the end of last year, and this is a race which Brando at his best would win, and win fairly comfortably.
I think there's just one more to go forward. That is Cassia, who was a bit reluctant to go down, but here she is. She's the last to go in. Here's Simon.
So Cassia walking forward blindfolded into stall 2 under Graham Lee. Brando from stall 4 here. Cassia just a bit agitated. They're set. Blinds off, and away they go for the Connaught Acess Flooring Aberant Stakes. Mayfair Lady in the white jacket on the outside of Ornate, who's allowed to bowl on by Ryan Moore. Ornate from Mayfair Lady. A couple of lengths away to Aeolus. The pace looking fairly strong because the back three are some way off the gallop. Brando in 4th, then Cassia, and Winfast on the far side. So Ornate out clear of Mayfair Lady and Aeolus as they rush through the first quarter mile and on their way to the halfway stage in this Group 3 prize. And Ornate extending to 3.5 lengths. Mayfair Lady, Aeolus, then the favourite Brando in the centre, the yellow jacket with the purple half sleeves. Cassia back on the outside in a dark blue cap following Brando through, and finally Winfast. So Ornate setting the target here as they race inside the final quarter mile. Ryan Moore trying to steal the advantage, but Brando now is out after Ornate and begins to close the gap. Just needs to find something up the hill. Ornate from Brando, then Winfast back in 3rd. Brando getting to Ornate with every single stride, and Brando picks up the leader in the run up to the line. Brando confirms favouritism in the Aberant from Ornate, a bold bid, then Winfast and Cassia.
Cool. There was a lot to like about that performance from Brando, who has returned the winning even money favourite, and he was entitled to win on ratings. Of course he was, given what he achieved throughout last season, and particularly in Group 1 company at the back end, and he's won on seasonal reappearance after 187 days off this summer pivotal for Kevin Ryan and for Tom Eves. Long-time leader, first start since that gelding operation. First start for 202 days, second Ornate, long-time leader Ryan Moore on first start for Robert Cowell, and Winfast up against that far side rail, picked up 3rd, Richard Kingscote for Brian Meehan. This is where Tom Eves said go, and then he said go again, and then I think he probably said it again, but in the end he's picked him up and he's won quite cosily.
He has. I think he was trying to give him as easy a time as possible. It was a long time before he picked up his whip, and he only gave him 1, 2 slight smacks. I thought he was very much trying to hold on, probably because of the ground. See here, Ornate, who really fluffed the start, but then showed good pace to set what looked to be a pretty good pace, actually, because they were well strung out from an early stage. Mayfair Lady on the horse's outside matched race for a while, but Ornate's run a really good race, and second again. That's the 5th time in the last season the horse has been second, but that start aside, for most of the race he did look the only threat.
No disgrace in this account, finishing second to a horse like Brando, and he's a horse that they have mused in the off-season about potentially coming back to 5. I think they'll be very happy with what they've seen there, and it would be no surprise, I think, were they to come back to that trip.
No, pace is certainly something not short of. I mean, of the others, the Winfast was running right in the end, was off the bridle from some way out, but he's boxed on late on. Cassia's just run okay. Aeolus should be worried about. That's dropped out fairly quickly. Was beaten a proper retreat from 2 furlongs out, and hasn't run particularly well.
When you look at them here and you look at all 6 together, that you can see almost physically the star quality sprinter, just the way he covers the ground. He's a big bull of a horse as well. He pings out at you, doesn't he, the winner, Brando?
Definitely. He's a size above most of them. And as I say, I think the jockey was very much trying to give it easy time as possible. And in the end, he's won a length. I mean, it looked like, is he going to get there half a furlong out? I think he's won for the fair bit in hand. It was a first time out performance. He travelled beautifully. There was just a moment, whether it was ring rustiness or whatever, where you weren't sure he was going to pick up, but once he did, he actually got there, and I say he's well on top of the finish.
Yes, it wasn't immediate, was it? And we'll see that probably from Tom Eves' body language. Do you think there was a moment, and we'll allow him the fact that it wasn't immediate, given that it's his reappearance, do you think there was any worry from Tom Eves? It'd be interesting to find out from Niall afterwards whether there was ever a moment of panic.
I think he thought he was going to win really easily from about 2 out till briefly there might have been one moment where, as I say, he's had to wake the horse up. I think it was it 2? I thought it was 2. Yeah, it was 2. And then his hands and he was going well on top. And I think the horse was half fallen asleep on him, a classic sort of first run of the season. But in the end, as long as they've got the way with the ground, which I think they have, they'll be really pleased. Good start to his campaign. He is a horse definitely on the up.
I wonder what targets they'll have in mind for this horse. You'd imagine all the top ones over 6 furlongs. Diamond Jubilee Stakes, first show of 12s. I've been handed from Paddy Power, and you can imagine that will be on his agenda, going right the way forward to back at Ascot as well at the back end of the Champion Stakes again, Champion Sprint Stakes again.
Yeah, and you know that he goes, if we have some rain, he goes with cutting the ground. We know he gets 6 furlongs really well. I mean, he's got lots and lots of options, a horse, and he improved 2 stone last year, and it wouldn't be at all surprising if he carries on improving. He's got the size of a horse who's developing into himself, and it's a really good start to an exciting sprinter's campaign.
And what has that told you about any possible concerns on very fast ground?
Well, it'd be interesting to hear the jockey. I do think he was trying to look after him. I'd be surprised if they didn't say they were slightly concerned. I might be wrong. I certainly think more giving the ground suits him ideally.
Well, that is the winner there. That is Brando, who has won the Aberant Stakes, and he wasn't an odds-on shot, so we're still yet to have one, but he has returned at this price.
No, he drifted a little bit just before the off, Tom. He's got off the even money favourite. He's won by a length from Ornate. He's run very well. First time for Robert Cowell, 9-1 and 6 run. The winning time was 1:10.19, so very close to standard, just 0.19 outside.
Runners in the paddock for the Bet365 Craven Stakes. We're going to start with number 3 if we can. Eminent, who created a really good impression winning his maiden over course and distance. Son of Frankel, bred to be smart. Ordinary enough for him, I think, is fair to say. Yes, it has thrown up winners, but see how it gets on here. A big step up in class, but Martin Meade sending out very positive vibes about him. Directly behind him is number 1, Ben Batal, who won run 18 days ago, and that was at Doncaster. He's not as big as some of them here. Son of Debawi, and he made a very good impression at Doncaster. Sylvester de Souza on board for the first time this afternoon, and directly behind him is number 7, War Decree, the favourite, who we haven't seen since the Vintage Stakes at Goodwood exactly 268 days ago, with powerful connections. Aidan O'Brien actually hasn't won at the Craven Stakes before. Is this horse about to right that wrong?
The 1 mile Group 3 Craven Stakes is next. First prize of over £34,000 and 7 run. This is how they bet. War Decree is your favourite for Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, 9-4. Rivet, 100-30. Ben Battle is 9-2. Larchmont Lad, 9-2 as well. Eminent, 8-1. Gulliver, 25s. And Contraposto is 33-1. 7 run in the Craven. War Decree favourite.
Martin Meade has just legged up Jim Crowley on Eminent, and it's the first time I've seen him. He's a gorgeous, big, imposing horse.
Yeah, he's done really, really well over the winter, so I'm very, very pleased with him.
Obviously, he's by Frankel, and people always say, is he straightforward at home? What's he like?
No, he needs to be. He has an interest in everything all the time, so he needs to be kept amused. And I'm surprised he's very, very relaxed here.
Jim is on board over course and distance, and I spoke to him earlier. He's in quite a bullish mood. He really likes him.
Yeah, no, I think he won that maiden well, but I think now, I've taken him up to a great height, and I'm dropping him right in the deep water now. I mean, this is the testing time, so we know. I mean, he won that well enough, but it was a maiden. Now we're really, really putting him to the test. But I think we had to do it just to see how good he is.
Quick ground today?
I'm not too worried about that. No. Obviously, it's quicker than when he won at the back end, but I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, he's easy to go through that. He's got good action.
How do you see the race panning out?
Well, we're going to have to be up with the pace, I think, a little bit, because he doesn't quicken that much off the pace. He's a relentless sort of galloper, and of course, one of the questions in my mind is actually his distance. So he wants to be up there with them, and hopefully he can sort of continue, not have to quicken but stay. That's what I'm really looking for.
Wish you well.
Thank you very much indeed. It's very good.
Good to hear from Martin Meade then, trainer of Eminent. And interesting, Steve, that he's saying this horse is a lengthener, not a quickener, and therefore he wants pace, and if there isn't any, he's not going to be too far off it. What did you make of him physically?
I think he's a really nice horse. I saw his debut, which is over this course and distance, so he got a mile as a 2-year-old. He's much taller than most Frankels, and he's got plenty of scope. I'm not sure he's completely the finished article. Physically, I think he's still got a frame to slightly grow into, but he created a really good impression that day. You can knock holes in the form, but he won very, very good style, and he's one of several fascinating lightly raced horses taking on the more established ones.
And it's an obvious thing to say about a horse of this profile. He's 1 from 1, he's making his reappearance, but what we saw physically, he looks like the type to just progress throughout the season. He's not out of place, is he, in the lineup? No. You don't walk away and think, what's he doing in a race like this? He's got lots of scope to improve, and as I say, although his form's not good enough, he's a single figure price here, and he's from a yard which are careful with their placings, and the fact that they're pitching him into this sort of company, I think is worth taking notice of. Was there one of them in the paddock that really pinged out at you?
I like a lot. A few. I thought Rivet looked really well. He's strong, robust colt. I liked Gulliver, and he's a big price, I know, but he's lengthy, and again, he did not lock out a place in this race at all. Ben Battle's not the biggest, the Godolphin horse. He's certainly fit and well. And Wardacre, I remember Wardacre last year being absolutely knocked out by him at Goodwood, and he's fine. He looks absolutely fine. Nothing negative, but I suspect he hasn't grown too much. He's now looked just a nice horse rather than a pick out in the race.
So not disappointed with what you saw necessarily, no. but perhaps not as beautiful as you remember. Is that
I
fair?
remember him standing out before in terms of size and strength, and today I think he looks a nice horse. I suspect he's filled out rather than grown. He looks in perfectly good condition. There's nothing negative about him, but there was a paddock there with 3 or 4 were every bit as imposing.
Group 2 winner Wardacre is a 9-4 shot ahead of Group 1 winner Rivet at 11-4. Why is that in your assessment, Steve?
I think it's Aidan O'Brien who started the season in great form. The ground I think is sure to suit. There is a doubt, or it needs to be proven that Rivet definitely acts on the track. Certainly that was the worry in the Dewhurst, where in between 2 really good runs he was below form in the Dewhurst. I think they're reasons really. He's interesting. His form is at 7 furlongs as a 2-year-old. Now he ought to stay, but he's got to prove it, Wardacre, especially if we do get a strongly run race, which I think Rivet will be ridden prominently, and from listening to Martin Mead there, it sounds like Eminence can be ridden prominently as well.
On staying, just a little fact. In fact, 5-2 co-favourites now, yeah. Wardacre and Rivet. Wardacre's Dam is the daughter of Ticker Tape, who's a half-sister to the winner of our last race, Brando.
Yeah, you were saying that. So I certainly, again, we're repeating conversation we've just had privately. I wouldn't be confident getting any more than a mile, personally. So we'll see whether this trip will probably be fine, but he's got to prove it anyway.
Do you have niggling doubts about the mile? Do you have slight shortly what is going to happen in the 2017 Craven? Here is Simon Holt.
And Contraposta goes in, so just waiting for the favourite, Wardacre, into stall 2 under Ryan Moore here. And they're lined up for the Bet365 Craven Stakes. And they're away and racing. Where's the pace going to come from? Gulliver fairly forward. Larchmont Lad on the far side towards the centre of the track. Rivet is forward as well from Eminent, and then Ben Battle and Contraposta. That's a group of 4 separated from the others. On the far side, Larchmont Lad, red, white sash, blue cap alongside Wardacre and Gulliver. Those 3 almost in line. So splitting apart here in the first couple of furlongs, with Gulliver on the far side from Wardacre and Larchmont Lad. On the near side, Rivet. We're just about to have a camera angle pretty side on, maybe not too much in it. Behind them is Eminent, behind Rivet, and they're followed by Ben Battle and Contraposto. So on their way now towards the final half mile in the Craven. Gulliver far side, Wardacre and Larchmont Lad. Near side, Rivet leads the way from Eminent, close up in second on this near side, and then 2 lengths to Ben Battle, and finally the outsider Contraposto. Little in it indeed between Gulliver on the far side and Rivet on the stand side. Wardacre just being stoked along now. On the far side is Larchmont Lad. Coming through a bit is Eminent, and Ben Battle improving as well. An open looking race. Rivet on the near side. Ben Battle making good ground in the all blue jacket. Eminent between them. On the far side, Larchmont Lad as they race to the final furlong now. Far side, Larchmont Lad, Ben Battle, Eminent and Rivet. Rivet and Eminent as they race up towards the line, and Eminent, the Frankel Colts, getting on top in the run up towards the line, and Eminent strides away to win the Craven. From in the second, Rivet on the near side of Ben Battle possibly, then Contraposto running a big race, followed home by Larchmont Lad.
Aberant has won the 2017 Craven at 8-1, ridden by Jim Crowley and trained by Martin Mead on just his second start. Winner over course and distance at the back end last year, 210 days ago. He has followed in the footsteps of his sire in winning over this course and distance, and attentions will now turn to what happens in the Guineas itself, as he is sure to turn up there in a few weeks' time. He went through his race like a pretty professional horse on his second start. He's finished ahead of Rivet, who was second, Frankie Dettori and William Haggis, and Ben Battle, who shaped with a great deal of promise on his second start as well, Sylvester de Souza for Saïd Bin Siror. But this horse, who we said was a scopy individual, not necessarily typical of a lot of the Frankels we've seen to date so far, and he's lengthened away pretty impressively as well.
He's 1 3/4 length in the end, and it looked close, half a furlong out. You know, Pat was saying, Pat was saying before, that he thought that there was a possibility of almost whatever happened of the favourite shortening up. Fair enough, but this horse has earned the right to go for the Guineas. His second ever race, he's rated 80-something before today, because the form of his 2-year-old race has worked out as just average. He beat a Group 1 horse in Rivet, followed by a Group 3 horse in Larchmont Lad, with a very promising Godolphin horse in the mix as well, and he's won in the style of a horse who's going to get better. Physically he's going to get better. He's a tall, scopy horse we haven't seen the best of yet, and the final furlong was really impressive, the distance he was putting to him, given how green he is, and he's now got 2 wins at the track as well, so I personally think he's a realistic contender. I'm not saying he should be favourite or anything like that, but he has absolutely earned to go there as a proper player.
2 groups, which is never ideal in a 7-runner race, and in fact I think the first 3 places have been filled by those that race towards the near side. I don't know how much to make of that.
No, but you know, it's a shame and unsatisfactory. You'd like them all to come up the middle, and with War Decree running poorly, which he did, and Gulliver being a bit too keen in the green, Larchmont Lad, you could certainly argue, didn't have as good a lead as he would like. He's run perfectly respectably again, but he may have been disadvantaged. You'd have to say that Ben Battle was disadvantaged by himself in that he was too keen and too free, but this was an excellent effort for a horse who's only won a maiden at Doncaster, a really good effort. I think Rivet's run his race. He was given a good ride and a positive ride by Frankie. I certainly didn't see him not handling the dip.
He looked far more balanced in the dip that time.
Ridden that way. So I think he's run pretty much to form, and in the end he's been beaten nearly 2 lengths by a horse who's only had 1 run beforehand, and that's got to be a positive.
You can see the winner, Eminent, just third from the right of shot. He's a horse who was actually one of the first off the bridle. The further he's gone, it seems the better he's got. And when he hit that rising ground was the moment he really started to lengthen away. With an eye on that, yes, he'll come back for the Guineas, but he does seem a horse who will get that bit further as well.
I'm sure that's the case. I mean, the Guineas is having just a few weeks' time, and you'd be very confident you get 10 furlongs, wouldn't you? On runs time. That's both times. He won over a mile as a 2-year-old, but he's not without pace. They were in a decent clip today, and you know, he's got enough speed to cope with a mile for the time being. But I do agree with you, in time, further will probably suit.
10s from 33s for the 2,000 Guineas with Paddy Power, 9s from 33s with Stan James for the Guineas, and 10 to 1 from 25s for the Derby. Both could well be on his agenda after that. Well, the first one will. What about a Derby for this one?
I really have to spend more time looking at it. The first, Frank was sort of banging in my ear and thinking, I doubt, but I don't know. I really would like to have a proper look at the damn side. But Guineas is absolutely, as I say, earned the right to go there, and I think that's about right. I think he's borderline single figures for the race. And you've got a favourite who we're not going to see until the day. He's favourite on 2-year-old form, very good 2-year-old form. It's hardly a good sighter how War Decree's run here, and this horse is 2 from 2 both at Newmarket. It's Martin Mead hasn't had that many top horses, but as I said before, he's very careful with his placings, and it is significant that a person who's as good a placer as him thought enough of this horse to pitch it straight into this company.
And it is pretty much 9s, 10s across the board, 10s with Labrets from 25s as well, Eminent for the Guineas, and 14s for a Derby. But that is the winner. Eminent, this son of Frankel, on his 2nd racecourse appearance, 2nd over course and distance, and both times he has finished first. He has won the Craven. Let's get the SPs with Angus.
Yeah, well done to Martin Mead and his team, producing this horse to win. First time up as a 3-year-old after his really good win at 2. He's been off the track 210 days, and he's won at 8 to 1, and he's beaten Rivet, who's 11 to 4. War Decree, the favourite, was most disappointing. He only beat 1 home and 7 ran. The winning time for Eminent, 1:35.15 over the mile, so it's 0.15 outside standard. I think when you are analysing those times, just remember there is a slight tailwind pushing them along.
Bet365 Craven in the hands of Jim Crowley. Well done of us. How'd the race pan out? Because they went 2 groups.
Yeah, listen, I wasn't worried when they split, because I was obviously tracking Rivet, who's always going to give me a nice toe into the race, and I was really impressed with him. I've never had a horse take so long to pull up, actually. The further he was going, the better he was going. He's got a great mind. He didn't mind the fast ground, and I'm glad he's done what he thought he could do last year.
Because that's the time of year you're going to ask Guineas and beyond Derby trips.
Yeah, listen, he'll stay, and he's got a good mind, and he relaxed nicely there and travelled into the race well. But like I said, he was only hitting top gear at the line, so everything suggests in his pedigree, so he'll go further.
Have you sat on him in between them 2 wins?
Yeah, I rode him work. I was actually a little bit disappointed because I thought, I was expecting him to go whiz, and that's why I thought he'd won a bit further, and I thought he might be a bit sharp from today. But like I said, he's just a high-class horse.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Well done. That was a fantastic performance in the end.
Yeah, I'm still reeling from the shock. I'm so pleased. It was a trial, and he had the most wonderful trial that I could possibly have expected.